In only a couple of days, it will have been exactly 2 months since we lost William Friedkin. Easily one of the saddest deaths that we've had recently in the film industry, a legend, a titan, and obviously the director of the original Exorcist film. And in loving memory of Billy Friedkin, I'd like to share something that he said a while ago about sequels to his films. Not only was I not involved, I haven't seen them. I view them as shit. They were simply made to cash in on the title. The public isn't stupid, they can see a ripoff when it's coming. There are certainly jokes to make here, but I don't want to disrespect his memory, and I think it speaks for itself. But yes, The Exorcist Believer is finally in theaters and releasing a week early because it knew it didn't have a chance against the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie. Props for your self-awareness, Jason Blum. This was directed and co-written by David Gordon Green, who we know from the most recent Halloween trilogy, Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. And yes, let's not mince words, this is pretty much David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy in Exorcist font. You heard it here first. If you go into this expecting anything other than that, that is on you, my friend. But there's also so much nuance to that because I like Halloween Ends. But I don't like Halloween Ends, the Halloween movie. I like Halloween Ends, the Christine remake. And it's an important thing to discuss because David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy is one of the most controversial outings in horror franchise history. People hate what he did, and then some people were able to see the vision and get on board. We'll talk about Halloween Ends a little more later on, but my goal is to give a good idea of this film, regardless of your thoughts on David Gordon Green. The initial concept rocks. Two young girls in a small suburban town who go and try to contact one of their deceased mom in the woods. They don't come home for dinner and show up 3 days later, 30 miles away, having no idea where they are or how much time has passed. In fact, they think it's only been a couple of hours. They come home and don't seem like themselves. They have to have tests done. David Gordon Green isn't afraid to take it slow in that buildup and let that horror speak for itself, and that was by far my favorite part. And you'll find few people disagreeing that the two girls, Lydia Jewett and Olivia O'Neill, are epic. They both give very brave and believable performances, and Leslie Odom Jr. is a huge part of the heart of the film. He really sells it as this protective dad who doesn't buy into the stuff that his God-fearing neighbors do. It felt very real and focused on character. The parents are fighting, the search team is out, and as a parent, not knowing what happened to them and they went through something so traumatic that they literally blocked it out of their memory, that is horrifying, I would assume. David Gordon Green does the small town thing really well, and I honestly think that he has a talent for making these franchises feel modern from a technical standpoint, regardless of the script and everything else. And it really had me believing that it was gonna lean into it all being a metaphor for that, for kids going through this trauma. But no, the first act of this is so solid, and the second half or after that is a big old question mark exclamation point. Once they get back, the pacing goes totally off the rails and it rushes through them getting possessed, which was a huge bummer for me because that can be the creepiest part. And you know, what I mentioned about the kids not really feeling like themselves, it goes too straight into being like really unbelievable demon shit rather than like really unsettling kid stuff. It becomes completely thematically confused and unfocused, kind of transitioning to believing and faith bringing a community together, and it turns into this group exorcism that people have very hilariously and accurately been comparing to the Avengers. He kind of did the Exorcist version of Evil Dies Tonight, and I was actually reminded of Lady in the Water, which would be exciting if it wasn't lacking all the magic of Lady in the Water. We're really going through a loyalty test of movies that I like today. Here's another issue that really gets my blood boiling in so many modern exorcism movies. The demon isn't a cool character, and it's not sexually depraved at all. I wouldn't call this scary in the way that people are probably hoping. To me, the scariest part of this film was that thought of your kids going missing, and especially what can happen to little girls. He does also pull a Mike Flanagan at one point that was very effective with a figure in the background, but the possession part of this film and the final exorcism is not very scary at all, save for some truly gnarly images that I actually am kind of obsessed with, like these hellish underworld creatures, flashes that reminded me of a couple shots from Talk to Me, if you've seen Talk to Me. And I think that kind of started as an homage to the trick where Pazuzu's face flashes for like a single frame a couple times in the original film. Kind of turned into this way of using the editing to create this feeling of the worlds interacting. That moment was really great, but I wish it was truly part of the DNA of the film. It throws in a couple cheap jump scares. I don't remember any of them being super effective, and again, the demon just doesn't go to the place that it needs to actually be scary. Like, Reagan being Pazuzu in the original film isn't scary because she has scary makeup on or because the bed shakes. It's scary because Pazuzu does not abide by our moral boundaries. It has no regard for you or children or what you care about. In fact, it aims to desecrate those very things. The worst this one gives you is like saying cunting daughter, which it steals right from the original anyways. There are actually a lot of things gleaned from the original in this, from lines to shots, and that's to be expected. But Ellen Burstyn is back as Chris McNeil because she's now an Exorcist expert and Leslie Odom Jr. seeks her out, which brings me to one of the biggest topics. As an Exorcist movie, people are going to be very upset. I am personally not angry. Like, the discourse and vitriol towards this movie is going to be literally insufferable that I might just mute it all on Twitter. But I'm numb to these things at this point. I am passionate about The Exorcist, but they're gonna do this with every single franchise until there are no bodies left to bleed. So what's the point in getting angry about it, I guess? But Ellen Burstyn, completely wasted. Like, it is actually shocking and confusing how much she is not in this movie for reasons that are equally shocking and confusing. And she looks great, and when she does have screen time, it's great, but I really thought she was gonna get her moment, but instead, they do her really dirty. Like, just a really odd decision what they do to her character that I think people are really not gonna be happy about. However, apparently she only did it because Blumhouse agreed to pay her twice the original offer, and she donated it all to a scholarship at Pace University, so she kind of pulled an epic Robin Hood move. But we know this, with cash grabs like this, you aren't gonna get an artistic vision, you're gonna get ambiguous endings so you could do reshoots and get sequels and feeling like it's cut up in the editing room, which absolutely happened here, shying away from those darker images or tougher subjects, especially when Universal shelled out $400 million to get the rights to turn this into a trilogy. Yes, this is going to be another trilogy. The second film is confirmed to come out in 2025, I think, and it is called The Exorcist Deceiver. I'm now taking bets on what the third film will be called, but that's just the state of things, and it probably will be tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Exorcist 3 reference, that one was actually good. I think whatever David Gordon Green is doing with these horror franchises actually worked better with the Halloween movies because Halloween had already become this like serialized slasher franchise, and it also is a bit more fantastical, whereas The Exorcist is much more like, I don't want to say sophisticated, but a little darker and more serious. So to me, the goofier things almost became like campy, or at least worked better in the tonal context of Halloween. And here it's just exposed as just mostly yikes. But anyways, overall, I think there truly are some things to enjoy about the way that The Exorcist Believer takes its time introducing the harrowing concept of kids going missing into the aftermath of trauma. It just really disappoints in a second half that completely unravels into a more generic, thematically confused, and a lazy attempt at being a legacy sequel. So I'm going to give The Exorcist Believer 2 out of 5 stars. Should you see it in theaters? Saw X recently came out as well, and that is actually a very good franchise horror sequel. So if you're gonna spend money on horror, I suggest you go that route. Also, in a very strange and humorous coincidence, William Friedkin's final film that's called The Kane Mutiny Court Martial also just came out and is apparently very good, and it would be cool maybe if everyone watched that instead. But let me know your thoughts on The Exorcist Believer, guys, David Gordon Green, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.